Hi, I'm Kyle Carter, Chancellor at UNC Pembroke. You're watching the Black and Gold Report on WFXB.
Hello, Braves fans, and welcome to an all-new season of the Black and Gold Report, a show all about UNC Pembroke athletics. It's August, and that means one thing. Preseason camps are underway, so we thought this episode we'd check in with all of our fall sports coaches to see how their camps were going. But first, we're joined by head football coach Pete Shinnick. Coach, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
How's preseason going so far, and has your team been able to avoid the injury bug and everything with the hard-hitting days of two-a-days?
We've really been, so far, pretty good as far as injuries have been concerned. We've had a couple guys out that we expect to get back this week, and we've avoided the heat pretty well because we've gone in the mornings or gone in the evenings. So a lot of the things that we've had in the past as far as some major injuries and some heat issues, we've avoided pretty much this season.
Okay. You had 22 seniors on last year's squad. A lot of new holes to fill. So how have those position battles been shaping up in camp?
Well, they really started in spring, and our guys knew that there'd be a void from a lot of familiar faces, guys that had been around the program for 3 or 4 years that had played quite a bit. Now some young guys are going to have to step up, and been very pleased with that competition. Not ready to name a complete starting set on both sides of the ball, but we got great competition. A lot of the new guys who have come in, as well as some returners who have kind of been, on the third team, second team, are now stepping up to those starting roles.
You just mentioned about your returners. Do you have a couple players that maybe didn't play a whole lot in the past that you can see maybe stepping into a starting role or some significant playing time this year?
Sure. I think on the defensive line, you've got a guy like Josh Gooding who's kind of been, redshirted and then backed up a little bit. Rayvon Standback. You got Mike Erie back at tight end, who's kind of been in the shadows a little bit. Elliot Powell, who played a little bit for us last year, has now stepped up and moving in. We've got good battle at our wide receiver spots. There's a lot of names, a lot of new names that I think when it all settles, people will become familiar with. But the first couple weeks, it'll be different.
You talked about your new names. With the newcomers, do you see any of those maybe having an immediate impact and people be able to see them on Saturdays?
Sure. We've gotten a couple transfers in. Matt Johnson at defensive end and Jacob Sykes at corner. They're going to have an immediate impact, we think, for them. And then some freshmen, L.J. Stroman at cornerback has had a very good preseason camp. And, a couple of linebackers, Elijah Williams and Eris Brooks are starting to make a move towards moving up the depth chart. So it's working out pretty well.
Okay. We talked about your returners and your newcomers. What about personnel-wise and schematically and philosophy-wise? Is there going to be any change from last year?
Not much. I mean, we've in the last 4 years on the field, defensively, I think we've been very sound. Coach Richardson and his staff have done a great job. From a schematic standpoint, going to look very similar to what we've done in the past. Again, personnel and people, that's going to be a little different. Offensively, we've always gone with the philosophy of we're going to play to the strengths of the players that we have. And last year we had a lot of running backs, and so we used them in multiple ways in different formations. This year we've got a few more wide receivers, so we're probably going to do a little more with them. But as far as, the type of plays and the things that we do, that'll be very similar.
Okay. Can you talk about your schedule a little bit this year?
Well, we think it's a pretty difficult one. When we set it up a couple years ago, we knew that we'd have some teams that, were going to be very good in Division II football, and it has really played out that way. I think 7 or 8 of our teams won, 6 or more games last year. So we feel like this is the type of schedule a fifth-year program needs to have. In order for us to establish ourselves and stay in the top in Division II, have an opportunity to work ourselves into that, this is the type of schedule we need to play year in and year out. So our guys are working hard to come out and play the best they can.
Got an 11-game schedule this year. Is there, well, obviously there's advantages to having an 11-game schedule. Can you talk about those advantages and maybe if there's any disadvantage associated with having an 11-game schedule?
Well, the advantage is all the teams are Division II teams, so every week really counts towards your playoff picture. And in Division II, you're trying to build the best schedule that you can in order to make that as good a situation for your team as possible. The negative is you don't get a break. So if you had a guy injured, we were able with the break last year to get a couple guys healthy. You continually play every week, so you got to deal with that.
Can you touch on a couple of the games that maybe your coaching staff has highlighted that the fans can know is probably going to be some pretty good football?
Well, really, the only one we're worried about is Fayetteville State, and I say that sincerely. We do have some good teams on our schedule, but we're trying to get through fall camp right now, and once we do that, we'll focus on Fayetteville State.
Your team's going to be wearing some new uniforms this year. I think you guys are pretty excited about that. Is it going to be a drastic change from the look we've seen in years past?
No, not as far as design. It'll be a little different, but just the material that it's made out of. It's the latest and greatest from Adidas, and our guys have seen it. They like it. We're excited to unveil them when we play at home.
All right. Thank you, Coach. We're going to go to commercial break right now, but when we come back, Jenna Davison is going to be with head men's soccer coach Phil Heinsohn. Stay tuned.